Betty wrapped up its 6-episode run in season 1. We talked about Betty after the first episode, and we were very engaged by the potential and also just like the overall vibe. Obviously, it's based off of the 2018 film Skate Kitchen, which Dave I think is a very big fan of. I believe it was your number 10 movie of 2018.
It was correct. Up there, yes.
It's
on Hulu now. Go watch.
Do you feel like Betty, now that you've seen the full season, lived up to its potential from the first episode?
Yeah, sure. I think Betty's it's a lot of fun with a kind of wide-ranging cast of characters. And while I would like more time with just about all these characters, only 6 episodes, 3 hours, it's not a whole lot of time to really get into some of these storylines that the characters have. And I think that's probably a weak point, but it was really good at that overall, I think, vibe it's going for. And when you had the first episode with the all-girl skate sesh, doesn't really come together. Seems like it wasn't really promoted well by Kirk online. Not really sure, right? And I think that is kind of a key thing with Betty, is that the passage of time, the transfer of information, character to character, a lot of times it's like just not really of the mind. You just kind of ignore it, right? And it's kind of like a show about moments and scenes. Mm-hmm. But I did really appreciate wrapping that up full circle with the final episode and having that come together in such a good way, because even though the show only touches on this just a little bit, like when Indigo's first starting to skate, the term Betty is kind of pejorative in skate culture. It's about, it's kind of like a term like a roadie or something, right? Like a groupie kind of term for girls hanging around skate parks. And the kind of coded misogynism that's been a part of skate culture, at least past 20 years. We don't get a whole lot of that, but I think it's still there. And again, wrapping that up with the skate just coming together in such a big way at the end, you get some really great moments and shots of them skating. Overall, there's not a ton of skating in the middle parts of the season, which I guess is a negative for me, because all these girls are great skaters. Like, they were skaters before they were actors, right? And I just like to see them just be bosses and do stuff, right? I guess Rachel Vinberg probably does the most skating because of her closeness to Bambi in the story. But yeah, I liked it a lot. And there's no official season 2 renewal. I really hope it does come back. It had modest ratings, but yeah, I did really enjoy it.
Yeah, so you kind of alluded to it, how the skating was obviously just a vehicle to bring these girls together, and most of the storylines revolved around a lot of different, I think, very serious and important topics that teenagers are facing nowadays, and dealing with. Which of the storylines did you find worked, and which ones were you maybe not as engaged with?
Yeah, I think Camille's storyline with Bambi works well. Mm-hmm. Honestly, it kind of ends with like, "Fuck that dude," right?
Yeah,
Bambi sucks.
Bambi sucks.
Fuck Bambi. I like that. That was good, and the way they kind of wrap it up with all them shooting the shit on the sidewalk, just talking about it, and how she's like, "No, we didn't fuck. I didn't do that. I don't know what his dick looks like," and like they're just ragging on each other. That was really funny. I like that. I think what didn't work for me as much was Honey Bear's storyline. In terms of what was the girl? She was
Ash.
Katarina
Tannenbaum.
Right. And like, because you get it set up early on. I think she lives in Staten Island, I want to say, or Jersey. She's kind of away from the lower west or east where they're chilling. Yeah. And she has this really strict conservative dad. So much to the point that she doesn't dress the way she actually dresses when she's around him, right? He doesn't like seem to know she even skates. And she brings up that fear or just uncomfortability with her dad a few times in the season, yet she still seems to have complete carte blanche and freedom to do whatever she wants. And that's because, again, Betty, the show, doesn't focus on the minutia, so you don't actually know if this is coming back up for her time back at home or personal life there, because we're not seeing that. Mm-hmm. So like, and like, what, when she like breaks it off with Ash just because, and like she's always like kind of like a really soft-spoken person, and then
Mhm.
she's crying on the ferry afterwards. I was just kind of confused, like where her emotions were at. I thought that was kind of a little arbitrary to me. And then she what makes up with the cool video saying I'm sorry I fucked up. All right, but yeah, that was one of the weaker ones for me.
I actually really liked Honey Bear. I think especially because she breaks up with Ash after seeing her dad
Mm-hmm.
in the terminal, and it kind of like sparks in her mind, like, oh, this actually isn't something I will actually work, kind of thing, and kind of
Yeah.
freaks out. It made a little bit more sense to me, I think, and I just found Moon. Her name is Moon Bear, which I think
Yeah.
is fucking
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Um, I found her just to be a very actor I always wanted to watch. I found her very like I don't know. She's really caught my eye on the screen. I I I found myself not really liking Janae that much out of the crew. Excuse me. I didn't find myself liking Janae that much out of the crew, which I thought was interesting because Dee Dee Lovelace, I think, seems to have some of the best acting chops, and I think
Mm-hmm.
she got maybe the best like redemption arc in the end because she kind of hangs around with Caleb Ebenhart's Donald, who's this real like fuck boy in this, right? And like he seems like he's watching out for her at first, but then it kind of comes to light by her working through her issues with this person who was commenting on her YouTube page about Donald, that Donald sexually abused her. And I thought the way that she at the end was like, I'm not going to fix your problems. Like, you got to do this on your own, really like stood up and set that boundary. That was a great moment. But like her just like being mad at these girls for saying these things about Donald and like that being like gassed up by Kurt in that fight at the party. I felt like that didn't really work for me all the time. So I found myself a little bit disengaged with that.
Well, it just kind of felt like outdated thing that happened.
Right.
Like I feel like people of this age group are in particular quite sensitive to those kinds of allegations, and just to immediately attack the person bringing that up just kind of felt a little retrograde to me and maybe a little unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure, but um, yeah, I still, again, I want to focus or just restate that I think watch the film. The film has basically all these characters playing these same characters, and Camila has a really strong arc in the film Ski Kitchen, and it seemed like the show did not want to do the same kind of thing. I guess it's more about the vibes and then the overall group, and that's cool. Um, yeah, I mean, shout out that Jamie Reyes Tony Hawk cameo at the end.
Yeah,
That was I thought actually really funny and awesome pull, to be
yep,
honest, for the show.
totally agree.
Um, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's also just a cool hang. You know, you're just kind of in New York, and I think I made the comp before, but it's a lot like Kids back in the day, except there's not like grievous drug use and sexual assault and stuff like in Kids. But
Right.
Kids is also about skating and that culture and people just kind of doing shit. And this is kind of a more cleaned up version of that. So
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a cool legacy.
I thought it was a great hang. There were some really cool moments. Honestly, listening to cool songs and watching people skateboard is just always like fun. So
Mm-hmm.
if you got 3 hours and want to consume something different, I think this is not a bad way to waste some time.